The art of perfumery has long been shrouded in secrecy. So if you're curious how perfume is made or interested in making it yourself, stay tuned. Hi everyone, I'm Allison, a perfumer at Earth Aria, and today we're going to make a perfume together. So using these 5 steps, I'll introduce you to my creative process and share with you one of my favorite perfume crafting secrets. So let's get started. So what kind of perfume are you trying to make? This is the first and most important step. So often in my workshops, beginners like to kind of throw things together and see what happens, which is totally fine. The only problem with that is if you don't have a clear goal in mind, you won't actually know when you've reached it. So the more specifically you can smell the perfume you want to make in your mind, the better. For this stage, I find mind mapping to be incredibly useful. Summer's on the way, so let's do a nostalgic summertime scent in the style of Tom Ford's Eau de Soleil Blanc. At the top, I've written a description, a sort of end goal. Then I've pulled major notes, or you could say themes, from my description. Then, since I would have already done some research on this, I've listed materials that could help me build each theme. On my actual mind map, I have over 40 materials listed. That's too much to work with for initial blending, so I've chosen about 14 or 15 that I'm actually going to put on scent strips to test out. Each material gets its own scent strip. Here I have some orange blossom, so I've already labeled my scent strip, and I'm going to dip halfway to the bent point, and then just put it aside with the other scent strips. Now that I have all my scent strips ready, here's one of my blending secrets. So when I'm testing things to see what goes together, to see what fits my theme, I actually do all of this blind. So I mix everything up so I don't know what's what. I try to cover the names with my thumb, and I take each material one by one, take a moment to smell it and think, does this smell fit my original vision? This one, definitely yes. So I'm going to put it in the definitely yes pile. So I actually have 4 different piles here. There's the definitely yes, which will be the core materials. There's a modifier pile for potential modifiers, a maybe pile, and a no pile. So now that we've found a great combination using scent strips, it's time to write a formula. And I would say this is in workshops where I usually help people out the most. It is a lot easier to write the formula when you know the relative strength and usage level of each material. But if you're starting out in perfumery, don't be afraid to do a million trials. So now I have my initial formula written and it's ready to be blended. These are my 4 core materials. So we've got Hedione HC as the main player, some orange blossom and Habanolide in equal parts, and slightly less benzyl salicylate. So I'm going to measure out the formula in drops because it's easier to see the ratios. Mix it up in this cute little amber bottle. And then once it's mixed, give it a shake. And dip a scent strip, which is labeled Trial 1. And test it out. So I'm actually pretty happy with this base. It's very soft and floral and definitely the direction that I want to go in. So I'm going to try adding 2 modifiers that I feel fairly confident about, which are Undecavertol for a bright green note and aldehyde C18 for the coconut. So now I'm going to try out my new version. And I'm actually really liking the greenness of the Undecavertol. And the C18 coconut is really fun, so I want to keep both of those modifiers. I'm not sure how I feel about the benzyl salicylate, so I'll probably make a note to take it out from my next trial. But before I throw out my first trial blend, I'm going to throw in 2 more materials to see what happens. So let's try some bergamot and magnolia for a bit of citrus. So I'm testing the bergamot and magnolia now, but it's a little bit too dry, a little bit too green, so I don't think I'll be including those in my next trial. One thing I will say, I do recommend, if you're starting out in perfumery, adding 1 material at a time so you can see the effect of each material before adding the next one. However, beware of olfactory fatigue. So every time you smell your blend, your nose is actually getting dulled to those scents, which means the new thing that you add will smell even stronger than it actually is. Here you can see my successive trials. By the time I got to trial 5, I was actually really happy with this blend on the scent strip. But then we get to the hidden step, step 4.5, where you actually try it out on the skin. And as often happens when you try something on the skin, it smells completely different and you realize you have to reformulate everything. Luckily, it only took me 2 more trials to make this perfume wearable. So I ended up settling on trial number 7. So let's actually upscale this trial. So upscaling in perfumery means creating a larger amount, and then what we're going to do is leave it to macerate, maybe for a few days, maybe for a couple of weeks. In order to convert drops into grams, I'm going to use my handy spreadsheet. So this is a spreadsheet I created specifically for perfumery, so I can keep track of my formulas and don't have to do any math in my head. You can see I put in the materials, their dilution level, drops, and then the spreadsheet tells me the percentage of concentrate of each material. For example, you can see benzyl salicylate, that's sunscreen note that I decided to keep, is 4% of concentrate and 0.4% of the final perfume, which is important to know because benzyl salicylate is actually restricted at 7.3%. Obviously, we're way under that, so we're good. So I actually mixed up this perfume a couple of weeks ago and it's been macerating ever since. And I tested it out recently and I have to say, I'm really happy with this one. It's summery, it's bright, it's creamy, it fulfills the brief that I had written in the beginning of this experiment. And I even had some friends test it out with the Tom Ford Eau de Soleil Blanc and they actually preferred this blend. So if you're interested in making it up yourself, I'll put the formula down in the comments. As you can probably guess, there is a lot more to perfumery than I can cover in this short video. But if you want to see any of these topics fleshed out in a full video, let me know. And what about you? Do you use a similar process? Do you do things differently? Let me know in the comments below.